Hey folks, there's been a generally positive reaction to the recent Ocarina of Time remake announcement. It's great to see such a nice buzz around the Zelda community once again, especially after the mixed reception Tears of the Kingdom received. As expected with any new project for a well-loved and passionately supported series like The Legend of Zelda, there has of course been questions asked and concerns raised. One question in particular that I want to talk about is, will there be any changes or new additions to the story? This could be in the form of small pieces of information being added in through dialogue, to major developments like brand new story arcs to further flesh out the game's lore. So be sure to go and grab yourself a snack and drink for the video, folks. Subscribe if you're new for lots more Zelda content. Drop a cheeky wee like down below, and let's discuss if the upcoming Ocarina of Time remake will make any changes to its already iconic story. Part of this curiosity comes from the wording Nintendo used when describing the remake. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time will be reborn. This has been interpreted by fans as a possible hint at the story being retold, a new telling of the adventure. Generally the same story, but almost told in a different way. Even if Reborn isn't hinting at any of that, a big reason for remaking a game to begin with is to improve and modernize the original experience. If it was just to bring the exact same experience, you'd just port the game, which has already been done. This is to bring that experience to the current audience in a modern way. Let's make it very clear now that I'm not saying any of this will happen, but I'd say there's a fair chance that the story could make some changes. So let's discuss what parts of the game could benefit from that, as well as areas that I feel are most likely to, if anything is changed. A major talking point regarding the story and lore came from the teaser trailer directly. We get a brief shot of Link sleeping in his bed, the same opening as the original game. He's experiencing a nightmare, the visions of Ganondorf plaguing Hyrule. The Great Deku Tree, who watches over the Kokiri Forest, also experiences these dark visions, and this is what kicks off the adventure, as the next morning Link is called to the guardian deity. However, an interesting change can be seen in the teaser. Link's left hand glows with the sign of the Triforce of Courage, which has raised questions as in the original adventure, he doesn't gain possession of the Triforce of Courage until after he opens the doors of time and draws the Master Sword, as Ganondorf sneaks in behind him to enter the Sacred Realm and steal the whole Triforce. However, as the King of Evil does so, the relic splits into its three respective parts: power going to Ganondorf, wisdom to Zelda, and courage to Link. But it appears as though here, at the beginning of the game, it might already reside within him. This isn't a detail that was in the original or the 3DS remake. This is completely new to this remake. Could it mean that Link might start the adventure off with the Triforce of Courage, likely not even being aware of that fact? If that is the case, then it directly affects what happens when Link draws the Master Sword. Maybe in the remake, instead of him gaining the Triforce of Courage here, he just becomes aware of it. There's also the possibility that this is simply just foreshadowing that he'll go on to bear the Triforce of Courage. Link's nightmares at the beginning of the game are, in a sense, also foreshadowing the events of the game. It could simply be that this detail has been added into his nightmares to foreshadow that he would go on to receive a piece of the relic. It's already known that he is destined to become the hero of Hyrule at this point. The Great Deku Tree took Link in as a baby during a time of conflict, not just to save his innocent life, but because he could sense the importance of his future. I believe it'll be one of those two scenarios, either Link having the Triforce of Courage from the get-go, or it's simply foreshadowing. I lean a lot more towards the foreshadowing side, to be honest. It's not likely in my opinion, but I had also considered that maybe this is just a detail for the teaser trailer, but I don't think Nintendo would highlight such a significant detail like the Triforce without it meaning anything. Going back to that mention of the Great Deku Tree taking Link in as a baby, there's a lot more to that which could be expanded upon in the remake. In the original story, after clearing the Forest Temple as adult Link, the hero meets the Deku Tree Sprout, the next guardian of the forest following the passing of his predecessor at the beginning of the game. The newly sprouted Deku Tree tells Link of his own backstory, how he came to be raised in the forest despite being Hyrulean. Prior to the events of the game, the Kingdom of Hyrule was in a period of fierce conflict, a long-lasting war splitting the different corners of the land into enemies. This is known as the Hyrulean Civil War. During these hard times for the kingdom, a Hylian mother and her baby entered the Forbidden Forest, attempting to escape from the brutal reality of war. After successfully reaching the depths of these woodlands, she encountered the Great Deku Tree. However, the Hylian mother had been badly injured. She was left with one option: to entrust her child into the protection of the forest. The Great Deku Tree could sense the destiny of this child and happily took Link into his care. Unfortunately for Link's mother, she passed away due to her injuries. Link was raised as a Kokiri and grew up in the forest. This is the only direct information we get about the Civil War. There's other small mentions to it, such as through the Shadow Temple, which during the conflict was used by the Sheikah and Hyrulean royal family to interrogate and torture their enemies. I'm really hoping we see this part of the story expanded upon. It wouldn't affect the active story all that much. It's as simple as extending the scene with the Deku Tree Sprout. I feel as though this is a really significant part of Ocarina of Time's backstory, and deserves to be fleshed out more. Perhaps we could get a brief scene of his mother's refuge through the forest, her meeting with the Great Deku Tree, and a look at baby Link being entrusted into the protection of the forest. Some shots or visuals from battles that took place during the war would be really cool to see as well, maybe even learning more specific details about events that happened during the conflict. I'm just throwing some ideas out there, but I love the sound of hearing about the Battle of Castletown, stories of the Gorons defending their mountainous home, Zora warriors ambushing from the rivers of Hyrule, and so on. There is of course the Shadow Temple, as previously mentioned as well. We know it was originally used to interrogate and torture enemies of Hyrule. It'd be incredibly dark, but really cool to learn more information about the war directly through this dungeon, hearing horrifying stories from the nearby locals, or encountering ghosts from those who lost their lives within. There's so much room to expand this particular area of the game's backstory, and I really hope it's something explored further in this remake. The Hyrulean Civil War is essentially the entire backstory to Ocarina of Time, and we know so little about it. After Link draws the Master Sword and becomes trapped within the Sacred Realm for 7 years, not only does Ganondorf gain possession of the Triforce of Power and take over Hyrule, but Princess Zelda and her bodyguard Impa vanish off the face of the earth. We see them escaping from Hyrule Castle on horseback not long before Link draws the Master Sword. Ganondorf was hot on their heels, but the pair managed to escape. From this moment, and for the next 7 years, they went into hiding. It's never explained where they went, how much they moved around during this time, and what sort of training Zelda underwent. We know that Impa trained the princess as she built her disguised alter ego Sheik, someone who Link would meet throughout his quest in the adult era, appearing at critical points of the story to help aid the hero in their mission to stop Ganondorf. I think this is something that might be expanded upon in the remake and would add valuable information to a fairly mysterious area of the story. Perhaps during the encounters with Sheik throughout the adult era, we could get new cutscenes that lore dump some of the events Zelda and Impa went through during Link's 7-year absence. This would of course need to be done in a way that saves the big spoiler of Sheik being Zelda, as that's a surprise that comes towards the end of the game. Even if we're just teased that Sheik could be Zelda without actually giving it away. Learning about what sort of training that Sheik was up to, how the identity of Sheik came to be. Maybe when it is revealed that Sheik is in fact Zelda, we could get some more cutscenes learning about how Impa trained the princess up, how the identity of Sheik came to be, and just where exactly they hid during this time frame. I've always wondered if they left the kingdom entirely for a time, or if they bounced around different locations within the kingdom, constantly moving to avoid being discovered. Heading back to when Link draws the Master Sword, there's another completely different change that might happen right here. During the development of the game, there was originally meant to be a 6th dungeon in the adult era. After Link pulls the Blade of Evil's Bane from its pedestal, there was going to be a dungeon here called the Light Temple. A sort of segue challenge between Link's child and adult eras. Unfortunately, this dungeon was scrapped during development and didn't make the final cut, but remnants of its planned existence can be seen. The Light Medallion that Link receives from the Sage of Light Rauru is the only one in the game he gets without having to complete a dungeon. The other medallions come from the respective sages of each dungeon after completion. This is the first hint that there was meant to be more here. In Ganon's castle, there's various rooms themed around each of the dungeons and their sages. This is including the Sage of Light, Rauru. It's believed that the Light Temple would have had puzzles and mechanics involving light manipulation, likely meaning that some of its cut contents were moved to the Spirit Temple. Could we see the original vision for this 6th dungeon make an appearance in the remake? Typically, when large parts of a Zelda game are cut from the final product like this, those assets and ideas end up getting used in other areas or are saved for future installments. It's likely that components of the Light Temple would have been seen in the likes of Majora's Mask and possibly the Wind Waker, as well as parts of Ocarina of Time itself. So it feels more unlikely to see this happen, but it'd definitely be a really cool thing to add to the game, and it wouldn't be solely for the sake of including it. It would act as a helpful segue between child and adult Link. It would add some depth to the time jump, which essentially just happens. There's some dialogue from Ganondorf and a short exchange between Link and Rauru, but other than that, we're very quickly thrown into the future, and that's that. This is such a major part of the story, and I think adding the Light Temple, or something similar to the original idea, would really help to build this particular part of the story. I think having a little segue dungeon here would be incredibly cool, though I must admit, I don't feel like it's overly likely to happen. What areas of the story would you like to see be changed, added to, or reworked altogether? I'd like to make it clear that this is in no way bashing the story of Ocarina of Time. It's an incredible adventure as is, but it is getting remade after all, and there's always the potential for changes with that. Let me know down in the comments what you think, as well as what you're most excited to see in the remake. I think for me, it's the dungeons, especially the forest, spirit, and shadow temples. Thanks a ton for watching, folks. I really hope you enjoyed this video and here are my thoughts on how the story in the Ocarina of Time remake might change. Agree or disagree, I'd massively appreciate it if you could drop a cheeky wee like down below, as well as consider subscribing to the channel for lots more fabulous Zelda content from myself. A massive thank you goes to my channel members and patrons. Their generous backing really helps to make videos just like this one all the more possible to produce. All backers at any tier receive the same rewards, and if you'd be interested in learning more about that, then check out the supporting links down in the description. Also down there are my socials, where you can follow to keep up to date with me, and even join the Discord server to chat to myself and many other lovely Zelda fans. Thanks again for watching, folks. I hope you have a nice rest of your day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.